Joan Trudell.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm really glad to see you here. and I'll be as coherent as I can. I'm going to tell you just straight so that we have this understanding. I'm crazy. So if I say something you just don't get, right? Don't hold it against me. I'm not trying to start anything. and because and this crazy thing, I mean, it isn't a choice that I made. It kind of just happened. But then I looked around at the normal. And I thought, whoever made this choice for me was looking out for me. I mean, no offense to those with aspirations of normal.
What's crazy?
But what I noticed about normal and typical and sane, they're all afraid. And they feel powerless to deal with the realities of their life. Anyway, that's what I noticed. And I'm not sure, I know where I want to go. Because the title of this is about intelligence as alternative energy. So I know where I want to go. I'm not sure how we're going to get there. But I'm going to just head in a direction. And it takes me a little while to find where I'm headed. So I'm going to start, I'll read some poems and then we'll see. But basically it's about intelligence as alternative energy and the reality of who we are, human beings. And I think that we need to pay more attention to that reality of being a human being. Anyway, this is called Carrying Those Rattlings. Nights and days and looking for a way, with lives turning on dreams and loves. Then dreams and loves can turn on you. But until then, it's something more to do. And then there's something to knowing just when to take serious, and then when to leave well enoughs alone, and in between, don't beat yourself up. As laughters smile at the thoughts of ways how craziers can get everything can get. At the times when some more crazier really is more crazier than we needed. Doing the right things at the wrong time. Doing the wrong things at the right time. Bring ways of confusing us to themselves. Right gets wary and wrong doesn't care. Maybe we could have done it all different. And again, maybe once it this way. The reasons for doing what we keep doing are part of us needing to recognize reason. When there's no all good, there's no all bad. With guilt, sin, and blame rattling their chain, making noisy, crowded sounds in our head, blinding us to our abilities and ways to see past rattling chains and what they're all about. All things we do can be lessons we learn or can be mistakes we repeat and repeat, depending on how loud and on how close and the why we're carrying those rattlings. Should be worth remembering those chains aren't our chains. Someone's put them on us, wrapped them in our mind until we believed. After all's been said and after all's been told, how we think can make the rattling go away. I'm not into this to be the best human being. I just want to be good enough not to be bad. I don't remember seeing many or any heroes, but I saw some people who did heroic things. Anywhere else left to play is in its own duality, while breakers of mask hunt the mask fixers in the relentless of virals, virtual technologic, stalking prey in new created hunting grounds. And fragmented thoughts come tumbling down like a torrential rain's weeping of jagged tears, drowning out the sun like a dark enemy of light with the odor of fearmongers replacing serene. On the edge of it's all we can do to hold our own, tempters and tempteds flashing their promises. Know how desperate gets when desperate gets. It's easy enough to keep the confused confused. So doing time in a maze of deliberately brokens appears to be a riddler's riddles need solving. And I'm nothing more than another puzzled part, looking to find the right place to fit without crying. Over then, over again, as a song playing my head, wearing memories to fill in some forgotten story about how there's no one doing that do unto others, a life between the last breath and the next breath, the one that decides to elude the predator or not. Then there's that scenery where glory and shame keep cutting in with their Joneses wanting to Jones, like drunken dancers trying to outdrink their fear out on stage where the house controls the music. So then me and Creator worked out our own deal about finding the entrance in the best ways I can, in realms where there are no exits, only entrances, and the color pouring from our eyes is our vitality, how our spirit shows us how we're living or dying. Well, human beings. So sometimes, often, I'm crazy. I feel like I'm in a dimensional reality where we don't know who we are. We don't recognize ourselves. We don't understand the sounds that we make in this vibratory reality. And we don't know what our purpose is. And sometimes I feel like I'm in that dimensional reality. And I think when we look at what's going on in our lives, I think we need to remember that we're human beings. We're human beings. We live in a predatory, industrial, technological reality where there's a small number of industrial ruling class that pretty much own everything. All right? They own the governments, they own the religions.
The media.
They own the governments, the religions, and all these things. See, and the kind of way it works, this industrial ruling class, they created the communist and told the communist, I look at these government and religion things as being like corrals. So they created communism and herded the human beings into a communist corral and said, you're communist, you're citizens of communism, your corral is better than anybody else's. And they took them and they herded the human beings into capitalist corrals. These corrals they called capitalism and said, your corral is better than anybody else's. And they did it with religions. Right? So all of this, and in the process of herding us into these corrals, they take and they repress the identity, the memory of being a human being. Right? Because we become citizens. They create these victim identities. And we identify with a victim identity. So tonight I'm trying to talk to you as a human being. One human being to another. Right? Without the victim stuff. All right, so in this technologic industrial reality that we're in, everything is about energy. Everything. Everything's going to ever happen in this dimensional reality that we're in is about energy. Now, we're human beings. Human beings. We are human beings. When we say I'm only human, we're wrong. We're just not making right sense. Because we are human and being. Human being. All right? And without the being part of human, we wouldn't be human. We wouldn't be alive without the being part. But see, somewhere in this process, we've been programmed to forget the being part of human. So all of our perception of reality is based from the human aspect rather than the being and human. Everything's about energy. Everything. Human being. Human being. Our bone, flesh, and blood is made up of the metals, minerals, and liquids of the earth. We are shapes of the earth. We have being. All things of the earth are made up of the same metals, minerals, and liquids. Whether it's a tree, a stone, all things of the earth, an animal, a plant, all things of the earth are made up of the same metals, minerals, and liquids. All things of the earth have being. Our being comes from our relationship to the sun, sky, universe. It's that light, it's that universe, that sky that brings the energy of being, all right? And it mixes with the life form of earth, and we have this life. All things have being. Now, in this technological, perceptional, industrial reality that we're in, we know that they can take the DNA of the earth that's called fossil fuel, can take the metal, mineral, liquid, the DNA of the earth that's called uranium, and through a mining refinement process, they can take this uranium fossil fuel out of the earth, put it through a mining refinement process, and convert its being into a form of energy to run electrical systems. Well, I think technologic industrial civilization mines the being part of human through how the human is imprinted to perceive reality. How the human is imprinted to believe reality. How the human being is imprinted to believe what they're told. The mining process. So they're mining the being part of human through how we are programmed to perceive reality. That our corral is better than the other corral. How we're programmed to perceive reality. And so when they mine fossils or the uranium out of the earth, it leaves behind poison and toxic waste. Well, when they mine the being part of human, that leaves behind poison and toxic waste, and that poison and toxic waste, these are the fears, doubts, and insecurities that become a part of our perception of self. And therefore, they form how we perceive reality. So every fear, doubt, and insecurity that you have, you didn't think it up, we didn't think it up, somebody put it there. Somebody told us something, somebody imprinted us with it, and we believed it. And we believed it. Now, the power of our intelligence. The power of our intelligence. Because, see, we create our reality every day. Every day we create it because it's how we perceive. Now, the power of our intelligence. Have you ever had the experience of feeling powerless? And while you're feeling powerless, how bad can you make yourself feel? With your fears and your doubts and oh, there's something wrong with me, right? I'm not good enough. How bad can you make yourself feel? And how does that affect the people that you interact with? See, then if you can do that, you got power. So whatever's going on with us, it's not about not having power. It's about not understanding power. It's about chaotic use of our incoherent use of our power, but we have power. Now imagine if that power, the power we have to affect others through our negativity and our self-doubts, now imagine if that energy, that power was used clearly and coherently. See, what kind of effect that could have. So, anyway, we've got no time for wishing and regretting. You already passed any good that'll do. And waiting for better times is too slow. And time needs to move on is anxious. Time on his hands or time on his mind is a lot more time than he wants. He already tried using time to escape, or maybe it's time uses him to escape. Anyway, it all ends up the same or not. Days are still days here to get through before the nights get to take their turn. A way time has of passing him around. So if he wasn't doing time, time did him. And some kind of alchemy of overs over, changing light into dark, then into spark, like a clean slate to start all over again. Chances to paint some prettier pictures when he's not out of it and spilling paint. Times his mind is like a shaking thought, thinkings and sounds of rattling rainbows, and not really sure is the only sure thing. Time starts making sense, never stopped, or stopped making sense, never stopped. In between is the time to fill in the blanks, some things to do with the time of his life. You know, because everything is about energy, and energy flows. You know, when we think, we project electromagnetic thought. And this is just reality, you know. So everything is about energy, and we project electromagnetic thought. Now, part of this mining process that happens is to take the human being and stop the human being from thinking, to replace thinking with believing. Get the human being to believe that believing is thinking. Right? But not to think. Not to think. All right? Now, reality here. All right? Because energy, we project electromagnetic thought. Energy flows. Now, when you take the energy of thinking, which is supposed to flow, and you put it into the energy of believing, well, see, believing is like a cage. It's got its biases. It's got its prejudices. It's got its limitations. It's got its closed-mindedness. Believing, so when you take the energy of thinking and you imprint and program the human beings to not think but to believe instead, see, then this energy that's supposed to be flowing out into reality and helping to create, because our creative intelligence is so powerful. But anyway, so it's taken and put into this cage of believing. See, then, so the energy's got nowhere to go. But it's energy, it has to do something, so it stresses and it builds inside. And because it's not really thinking energy, it's believing energy, it increases the fears, the doubts, and the stresses that become a part of the human being's life. And then the human being does not see clearly or coherently, does not think clearly or coherently. The human being now starts to make emotional decisions rather than thought out, clear, coherent decisions. So there's a difference in thinking and believing. Either we believe or we think, but we can't do both. Right? We can't do both. And there's danger about believing, so we need to be careful about how we use that concept, that word believe. Need to be very careful with it. Because remember, every fear, doubt, and insecurity, every self-dislike, every self-hatred, every self-cloud that we have about ourselves, somebody told it to us, somebody imprinted there, and we believed it. But I guarantee you, not a one of us thought it up on our own. You know, we're not that normal. So whatever's going on, that industrial ruling class does not want us to think. Because if we think, we're going to create another reality. We're going to create a reality. So we need, but in order for us to have all that happen, we really need to identify ourselves as human beings again. We need to recognize that we're human beings, and we need to understand what that is, to be a human being, because the only power we're going to ever have in this reality is in the being of a human being. You're going to have political power. You know, you can tell yourself, we can tell ourselves, you can tell yourself that lie all you want, but do you feel politically powerful? You're going to have economic power? Do you feel economically powerful? You're going to have military power? Do you feel militarily powerful? But see, part of this sleight of mind trickery, see, we've been imprinted to believe that external things are power. See, so if we believe accumulation of money is going to make us powerful, or accumulation of political votes is going to make us powerful, or accumulation of military access is going to make us powerful, see, then we'll never recognize the reality of ourselves in relationship to power. Because we've defined it all as being external. Now, economics, politics, military, all of these things, they're an illusion of power, but in reality what they are access to authority. And there's a difference between authority and power. Actually, people that don't really feel their power need authority to impose upon the others. But we've been imprinted to believe that that's where the power is. As a human, and maybe as a citizen, and what I call victim identities, all right? We're human beings. And ancestrally, encoded in our DNA, because every one of us is descended of a tribe. I don't care where we come from on this planet. At some point, we come from tribal origins. And in that tribal origin, in that genetic memory, we were all human beings. That's how we identified ourselves. And then as technological civilization started to emerge and come out of the mist, all right, then we started to get these other nationalistic identities. We started to get these other own property identities. I call victim identities. In reality, we're a human being. That's our primary identity. If we're here, our primary identity is as a human being. Secondary identity is gender, race. Primary identity, human being. But all of these other identities, gender, race, all of these things have been turned into victim identities. Women relate to their identity as a victim identity. Men relate to their identity as a victim identity. And this is reality. You know, we may hide it behind these varying prides and masks and disguises that we don't even fool ourselves with. But we relate to life from a victim identity. We have been imprinted to become afraid to think. I mean, in the land of freedom, I hear the word freedom used so much. And I want to know, why did they add dumb to it? I'm serious about this one. Let me see. There's serfdom, fiefdom, kingdom, selldom, freedom, and I'm suspicious of wisdom. I'm getting old and paranoid because I did too many things. So the paranoia got to be my curse or my blessing. I can't remember. I'm supposed to handle that one. Now I understand being free. I understand being wise. But freedom throws me. I mean, let's see here. The land of freedom. You got to pay to be born. You got to pay to die. And you got to have money to spend the whole time in between. Reality here. Coherent reality. So where's the freedom? Where is the freedom? How many, I mean, because if we're talking about something starts to need making sense here. Something needs to start making sense here. I trust as human beings, if we recognize that we're human beings and we respect our creative intelligence, we can make sense. But something needs to start making sense. I mean, you know, something needs to start making sense. It's like, how many people in this room are worried about how they're going to survive economically? You know, I mean, serious reality. How many people are concerned about that? You know, how many, you know, and yet still believe in a political system that put them in this position. You know, and I'm not trying to start nothing, except people think. To think. You know, I don't know, because something that I don't understand sometimes is, how can I show respect to a creator? However one looks at the creator, how can I show respect to the creator if I don't respect my intelligence? Because as a human being in this form, the creator gave us intelligence to function in this form. So how can I show respect? I mean, how can I show, it's like, it's almost like I think on a daily basis, we should give thanks to our Creator for life. And I think on a daily basis, give thanks for life because it helps us to remember life. When life, the memory of life is being rapidly surrounded, being rapidly surrounded with this whole idea of just to survive, just to exist. So the enjoyment and pleasure of living is being minimized because we're so busy trying to survive or exist. But how? So I think we should give thanks to our Creator every day for life, and we should thank our Creator for giving us intelligence. And then maybe that will help us to remember how can we respect life if we don't respect our intelligence? Because it's through our intelligence how we manifest our perception and our participation in reality. And I see another one here. This is like hope. So you're they're gonna start dragging that out, hope and changing and believing and stuff again, you know. But you know, to me that's like an old drug, you know. Hey, here we go again. Got nothing new. Infinite things. Hope. See, I was third grade or ninth grade or so. I was in school, right? And they told us the story about Pandora's box. And the gods gave Pandora the box. It was really the gods' box, right? The gods, plural. It was really their box, and they gave it to Pandora and called it Pandora's box. But in Pandora's box were the 7 evils of the world. And, but hope was in there. See, so, and the reasoning, the incoherent logic, right, was that, well, when Pandora opened the box, because she was a woman and couldn't keep it shut, right? This is when they were after the whole mother image of the earth and things, so, you know, so they're starting to, you know, but so anyway, she couldn't keep it shut, so she opened it, and the 7 evils of the world came out, and then after they came out, hope came out. And then they told us, innocent little kids, well, hope came out to help us. No, it's the box of evil and hope was in it, and hope came out of it. Think about that. It doesn't say the box of evil and hope. The box of evil and hope came out of it, and here's where the trickery of hope. Everything's about energy. See, and if you pray, you're activating the energy. If you hope, you're just kind of sitting around waiting for it to be delivered. What I'm saying about the sounds that we make, we're in a vibratory reality. All right, and the thoughts that we think, the electromagnetic thoughts that we think, are connected to if they're connected to our feelings through thinking, or they're connected to our emotions through believing. But anyway, the sounds that we make, all right, when we project those out into reality, the thoughts that we're making, well, the sounds that we make need to synchronize with the thought, energetically speaking. So they have created a language, a trick language, where we contradict. Am I making sense? You're crazier than I am. There ain't going to be just me they're coming after then, all right? And blame. This is the other one. Guilt, sin, and blame. Give me a break. The way they have guilt, sin, and blame structures is like there's a spiritual perception of reality and a religious perception of reality. Spiritual perception of reality is based upon responsibility. We are responsible for our energetic being participation in reality. Under the religious perception of reality, we committed a crime, a moral crime for being born. Okay. If that was a crime, wait till you see what I got in mind. Because that one is an accident. Wait till I can think. But think about it. So we committed original sin. We committed crime for being born. You know, and that one's the page turner right there, see? Because when that sinks in to the little mind, then it's easier to throw all the other stuff on because there's something wrong with me. All right? But anyway, but under this perception of there being something wrong with us for being born, because there's something wrong with us. I mean, this is how the sleight of mind works. Because there's something wrong with us for being born, therefore we must submit to a male-dominated chain of command and obey them and get their approval. And that's how we take responsibility, according to them. But but over here, in this other, well, I'm not going to lay this on spirit. In my own little crazy reality, hold it. I think that's the way you give up taking responsibility, because you give it to somebody else. You just blindly follow. But yet, we're imprinted that that's the way to take responsibility. So, this is called Descent of Reptilian. It was in the foreground of hidden in front of us. The holy holies and the cannibals scrapped it out, while the planetary industrial ruling class Reich offered up civilized human sacrifice to gods of profit. Worshipping corporate temple economic high priest, sacrificing the poor through inflations and recessions, in the ways of accumulations of greeds and excesses, and needs for always more poor to feed hungry gods. In the faint sounds of jackboots rapidly approach, maybe we'll recognize them when they come for us. Or before our children are grown, that sound will be more familiar to them than the sound of our voice. With redistributions of the wealth redistributed upward, in the neon serfdoms where peons are called citizens, and the serfs are being divided into tomorrow's debtors to carry ruling class wealth on the backs of their children. While the predator classes try hiding the scent of reptilian in the neon and promises of all the promises we can want. But if we listen closely, we can hear the scent of reptilian leaking out of their religions, economics, politics, and mouth. As the industrial Reich paints its 1,000-year nightmares, industrial military complexes manufacture mass individuality. Corporate Nazi enforcers wearing brown shirts of any colors, defining rules of freedoms and industrial law class systems as their shepherds herd us into the corrals we pretend aren't. Now, even as the holy holies and the cannibals scrap it out, the cannibals created and used to their advantage the fact good guys and bad guys are wired by the same programs. Genetic modifications cross-pollinating reptilian perceptions, creating confusions between us and the holy holies. While the ancient ancestral mind waits to be re-recognized, the living memories of the knowledge of being human being, here in our place in the universe, and the reason for thinking, a protection in when thinking is used like a seeing medicine. I was thinking about blame. To blame is useless, and I question, see what I question about blame? Because I think it gives us a way out. You know? If we're not doing the best we can with the best that we have as often as we can, all right, if we're not doing that, then we're really in no position to be blaming somebody. Yeah. I mean, that's just my opinion, right? And because I think, you know, because they gave, when they created this guilt, sin, and blame, they created 60, because it's kind of interesting. It's like colonization of the thought process, I guess, actually. Because when we're blaming, see, it does give us an out. It does, because, you know, the bad guys are going to be the bad guys, you know? And then you can blame them, do what you want. It's not going to change that, you know? And we're not going to change them, all right? But we can change us. If the power of our creative intelligence, this great gift I keep looking at, power of our creative intelligence. If we can create our daily fears and miseries, we can create our daily glories, pleasures, and coherencies. We have that ability. That's what the magic of our intelligence is. It's a decision we make. It's a decision we make. And I think it's a way, because everything's about energy, and I think it's better to use our energy, all right, to create some coherency and some common sense than to feed it into the distortion of blame. Now, a different responsibility. Everyone is responsible for how they participate. Everyone is responsible for how they participate. And some things, it may look like people are getting away with something, but everything's at the expense of being. Either we're going to nurture the being part of human, or we're going to deplete the being part of human. See, I kind of, this is crazy now, all right, so you can go how you want. But see, it's like the earth is this big amusement ride. What's that called on TV? Survivor. Or is it Lost? Well, anyway. See, we're in a dimension of being. We're beings. We have no form. We're just being. Human beings. So being just is. See, so we show up and we take human form for a while, for whatever reason, and then we go back to being, what you call birth and death. We call entering and leaving. All right? And so we're here for a while and we go back to the reality of being. So anyway, let's say that the earth is like this big amusement park. And this is the ride that I picked. Why I picked it, I could never explain to you. And if I could pick again, I might pick again. But this is the ride I picked. All right? And so this is everybody's the ride that we picked. So the trip now was to get through the ride without scaring the hell out of ourselves. Or puking on the person in front of you in the ride, right? Because those are all. It's about the evolution of being. It's about the evolution of being. It's the spiritual reality we're in. It's about the evolution of being. Human form is temporary. Being just is. It's like we enter and leave through these dimensions. It's a genetic memory. It's encoded in the DNA. And during those sometimes when it's harder to remember reasons to laugh than it is to remember reasons to cry, it has to do with how remember remembers. The realms of memories and pick and choose. The conditionings of pain leave deeper imprints, repressing laughter in a competition of pick me, stars in the night dimming bright, racing the sun. With memories of good and bad lined up in line, who do we pick out first and most in the lined up? Reliving some shadow parts of the past all overs as good memories and reasons to laugh wonder. Who and what turned the past into the diseased, feelings transmuted into ambushes of hysterical, feeding our natural fires into emotional fevers, high-octane combustion for erupting internals. And at the core of blaming is blaming ourselves. In the mining by trauma with distorting perceptions, the wrong to become the wrong, and that's their worth, turning images of self into fragments of who we are. Good things that happened and reasons to laugh wait, wanting their fair turn to bring the balance they bring, feeling like wallflowers in the dance hall of memories, with too many singers singing too many sad songs, like a desperate drought in a desert, using tears for rain. And sexism, sexism exists when they needed to attack the earth. Because everyone in our genetic collective memory, ancestral tribal memory, we all looked at the earth as our mother. And then when this male thing came, wherever it came from, it started emerging with the evolving technologic perceptional reality, all right? And it looked at, it started imprinting to human beings that the earth was not spiritual, the earth was the property of a religious entity. And then the religious entities fought it out amongst themselves, and it came down to three. There's God and Allah and the other one. what's his name? Well, anyway. Yeah, well, anyway, you can pick your own third, right? But anyway, it came down to the three. But in order for them to subdue, because see, we all looked at the earth as being our mother, related to her, and we look related to the women as the feminine manifestation of the earth, the physical form of the earth, the life bringers and sustainers. So in order to attack the earth, they had to attack the women. See, so sexism exists. It's not, sexism exists, it has to do with how the predator class, this technologic predator class, set out to dominate the earth. So sexism exists, it's in direct correlation to how we live with the earth. I just want to put that out there. You know, and about this thing about human beings. See, we all remembered we were human beings. You know, for us, the native people of this land base, I mean, we had the full memory as late as 1492. And in slow increments, it says, as this, what I call this diseased perception of reality, no offense. But this diseased perception of reality started spreading across the land. See, then our memory of being a human being started becoming fragmented. Now let's look at what I call the diseased perception of reality, because it is a diseased perception of reality. And this isn't about race or anything. This is about a diseased perception of reality. And like any disease, it crosses racial boundaries. It crosses class. It crosses gender, a diseased perception of reality. But it's an imprinted diseased perception of reality. Now, so let's look at the descendants of the tribes of Europe. So because what we have in common is something, I think, that in this society, in this country, see, everybody focuses on their differences. So everything, all these battles, we're being manipulated emotionally to be at each other's throats psychologically and demonizing one another, all right, because we can't agree. We're being manipulated to do that. And you watch, it's going to escalate. It's going to get much, 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 much more, all right, because there's a redistribution of the wealth taking place right now, and a new form, a new neon fiefdom being created. The Dark Ages are coming back, man, but they got light, neon, you know. But all this kind of stuff is going on. But anyway, the descendants of the tribes of Europe, by 1100 AD, the descendants of the tribes of Europe pretty much had been erased as tribes. By 1100 AD, the varying civilizations that came through had now pretty much put it down to the descendants of the tribes of Europe were now owned by the king and the church and the landlords. The royalty, the church, and the landlords. And they were property. By 1100 AD, they were property. If you weren't royalty, church, or landlord, you were property. And you were owned just like any other thing, a tree, a goat, anything. You were property. But these descendants of the tribes of Europe in 1100 AD still prayed to spirits. They prayed to the earth. They call them druids or whatever, but they prayed to the spiritual reality. And in the church, remember, this is about mining energy, man, I'm telling you. So the church created the Inquisition, because the king and the landlords already owned the physical human beings. So the church went after the being part. So they created the Inquisition. And the Inquisition, basically, you look it up. I mean, this stuff happened. I didn't make it up. I know that, right? But the Inquisition was basically when the church made the decision, because all these people were praying to spirits. They were praying to their natural ancestral way. So the church made the decision to have this Inquisition, and the Inquisition basically was to wage a war to possess the souls of the godless heathens. To possess the souls of the godless heathens. You want to see, this is about altering perceptual reality. I mean, this is a blatant, all right? So they set about doing this, and basically the deal was, if you disagreed with the church, you were guilty of heresy. And all it took was somebody to accuse you. And then, once you're accused of heresy, then you have to be tried. And as a part of the trying, you have to be tortured. It's a ritual, okay? And they created these fantastic, incredible devices of torture. I mean, we're talking about some deranged, no, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but this stuff happened, man. You know? I mean, organized serial killing. You know? I mean, really, you want to get right down to it, right? They killed thousands of people, like 400. They started in 1100 AD. Columbus came here 1492. So in 400 years, let's say 20 years to a generation, the descendants of the tribes of Europe have been through 20 generations of complete trauma, genocidal brutality. The descendants of the tribes of Europe, and they pick heavy on the women because they're still trying to erase that earth-woman connection. This is why the witches, this is why they went hard on the women, because they were still attempting to erase that connection. So anyway, the church was there to possess the souls of the godless heathens. So the godless heathens, descended of the tribes of Europe, in order to survive, they had to come to love what they feared. And what they feared was there to possess them. And see, and from that day on, they've never untangled love, fear, and possession. How many of you experience love without fear and possession? You don't have to answer, that's me. I really don't. You know? So they altered this stuff. Love, and love is an interesting word because it's a religious word. The people that came to destroy us, love. Love, love, love. Well, I don't know about love, right? Because God loves you. Yeah? Yeah. And tell him. Yeah, going out there too far already. No. Tell me, tell him. But these things got interwoven. See, they distort our clarity. They create confusions. I mean, seriously, how many people know love without fear and possession? Seriously, how many people use the word, well, I love this, I mean, I love Slurpees. That's how it becomes, it's no longer a real feeling. You know, it's an emotion, but not a real feeling. What happened to the caring? But anyway, so the descendants of the tribes of Europe, by the time Columbus came here, and Columbus got here, because this is how we got our name. Columbus got here, and he said, who are you? And we said, we're the human beings. And he said, oh, Indians. See, and some people say it's because he thought he was an Indian, which may or may not be. I really don't know. But the thing is, see, what I do know is they did, when we said we're the human beings, they no longer recognized what it meant. But so we know that this imprinting, to remove the identity of the human being, suppress it from the human beings that were the descendants of the tribes of Europe, we know that it had been completed by the time they got here. Because when we said we're human beings, they didn't get it. And they came and they behaved the same way they had been treated. The genocidal policies and behaviors that happened to the native people here it was a reenactment of what they knew, because it had been happening to them for 400 years. Is this right? See? So we're all in this together. I'll tell you this. All right? We're all in this together as human beings. Yeah. This is called Without the Thorns. Then she woke up and found herself lost in his crazy. Lost in his crazy. This place she keeps going to again, until going turns into staying. Losing herself in the loose in his head, like a prayer no one keeps listening for, where thoughts can be seen and unseen, while some of the voices aren't talking. Trying to mend a heart with a hurried mind doesn't seem to work out all that well. And now here she is, torn between herself, making new mistakes to fix old mistakes. Starting out swept in magnetic attractions, beguiled by love and fantasies of love. Wants sees what it wants, how it wants, when hungrier is in the eyes of the beholder. Dazed emotions can run away with feelings when rubbed raw on what the hell happened, leaving behind who they started out to be, catching up to other parts of themselves. She sees herself in the mirrors they broke, reflecting her in the many fragments of shining. Today's stories are yesterday's tomorrows. Maybe she's trying to find her happy ending, pretending it's his crazy she got herself lost in. Collages of memories and images of shadowing, thoughts on the run running into themselves, tripping over the hidden closets of hiddens, decorated with ribbons of don't look in there. Girl-child dreams of rainbows and glow that had to be put away to protect the bright. When dark didn't play fair and cheated the light. Learning a woman has to protect her heart. She feels like she's a rose without the thorns. And kind of what's going on now, I mean, I'm going to wander into this a little bit, but because I'm just wandering now, I lost track. Anybody been paying attention to this Occupy Wall Street? Okay. See, I have how I made it through reality. I divided into all these me's. No, I'm not schizophrenic. I just got a lot of me's. But we worked it out. Well, I'm just realistic about it. You do too, and I know you do, but you're just in denial about it because some of them you're ashamed of, and some of them, well, oops, excuse me. That wasn't me that said that. Another one. Well, my point being, right, we have no reason to not like ourselves. I mean, to be clear, because our distortions were imprinted into us and we believed certain things, and then so everything we did basically was a reaction to that distortion. So, we may have done things we don't like and we should make that distinction. But, but anyway, back to the Wall Street thing. I think it's a trick. I just think it's a trick. Something isn't right. All right? And I'm just put this out there. Because I told you, I'm crazy, man. So, we'll just let it go with some of that, right? But it's like, I'm thinking about this, let me see. It started in Tunisia, and then the Egyptians did it. And now 6-7 months later, the Americans are doing it. I got a feeling they prepared for the Americans. I just have a feeling they prepared for the Americans. I think they started preparing in 2001. I think they started preparing with the Patriot Act. Right? I think they started preparing a long time ago. And I think right now people should, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't express, but I think that people should be realistic about the expression that they make. Obviously, these issues have to be addressed, and they do. But I think the Americans are a little naive in trusting the police state that has emerged around them. Right? And I do think that. I think what they're doing now with all these protests, they're making a list for the FEMA camps. Right? They got all them camps, everybody knows about it. But I'm not going to go off into this too far because I don't want people to think I'm paranoid and stuff. But I'm saying things to think about. Because go back to this freedom thing. And people of my generation, my age, let's be real. Let's be real. All right? Let's be real. When I went to school and was in the 5th grade and 4th grade, they told me, the communists, that they spied on you. They had police state. You didn't have any secrets. Your neighbors spied on you. They could come and arrest you whenever they wanted to. All right? They could do any damn thing they wanted to you, and therefore they were bad. And now I'm being told, hey, we can do it, and we're supposed to support it. People my age know what I'm talking about. Because you heard it the same way I heard it. And now we're being asked to condone that behavior. So it's those little things. And I'm not saying, and I think we should express, we need to generate the energy, we need to make ourselves known, but think things out before we go. I think there's something just amiss. If it's nothing more than they've had since February to prepare. Like they didn't think it was going to happen here? You think Occupy Wall Street is a surprise? Oh gee, they're doing it to us. I don't think so. I think it's been anticipated. Because, and the reason I'm saying this, because I just want people to think, I'm not asking, if I don't make sense, I don't make sense. And I'm not asking you to change your thinking if I don't make sense. But let's face a certain basic reality here. There's been a tremendous redistribution of the wealth. Right? And now there's a whole new class of poor. And now there's going to be another redistribution. Right? You watch. There's more bad economy coming. And this is going to create more frustrated people. And then there's going to be provocation, and then there's going to be they're going to justify being able to come and deal with people. This is anticipated, I'm telling you. So we need to do what we need to do, but I'm saying what I really think is I think we really need to apply some clear, coherent thinking into how we're going to address this situation. To me, I'm not fighting the bad guys anymore. I'm not. I'm going to help the good guys. All right, the best of my ability. Because I think there are two different perceptions of reality. Right? I think there are two different perceptions of reality. And I think we need to think. Because I'm going to start wandering out of this, but I'm bringing this up just because I want us to think about cooperation and non-cooperation. We need to think in terms of non-cooperation, finding ways to not cooperate. See, we've been imprinted civil disobedience, violent or non-violent. We've been imprinted civil disobedience. We've been imprinted protest. We've been imprinted to non-violently civil disobedience is acceptable. Violent civil disobedience isn't acceptable, but to protest is acceptable. We've been imprinted with certain of these things. But you know what I find the common thread in every one of these things? Every one of these things is based upon us cooperating with them. If you have violent civil disobedience, you're cooperating with them because they get to come and play war games. They get to refine their system. Oh, and you buy magic markers to make your signs. And little bottles of water to march and parade. Bus tickets and plane tickets and all this stuff. All right? Cooperation with them. And if we do it with permits in a respectable way, cooperation with them. We need to think in terms of how do we change the energy dynamic. All right? And we need to create, instead of beating ourselves up about how bad and terrible we are and what's wrong with us, we need to be putting some clear, coherent thought into something that makes sense. And we will create that. We will create it if we will head in that direction with our intelligence, on our individual, personal lives, and on our collective lives. All right? Because, see, to just blame them, all right, we're going to hand over, our children to be their slaves, their debt slaves. And so we need to think of, and what I'm going to say is a practice, just to start practicing non-cooperation. Every fear, doubt, and insecurity that you used to judge yourself, they put it there. So every time you activate it, you're cooperating with them. Every time. Every time. Every time you take pride and you replace humility with pride, we're cooperating with them. Every time we let our ego get in the way, we're cooperating with them. Every time we make a reactionary decision, we're cooperating with them. Every time we make these emotional decisions, it's like feelings and emotions. See, feeling is how the being communicates with the human. All right? Emotions basically are what feelings turn into once they've been repressed. Do you ever have an emotional outburst on someone and you go back later and think, well, I wish I had said this. I wish I had said that. Yeah? Because everything's about energy and how we use our energy. has some say. See, and what I'm saying about this Occupy thing, you know, I understand that we need to generate some energy, but I'm saying maybe some energy of coherency, because what I see on the Occupy thing happening right now, it's like a fad that's catching on. All right? And people are emotionally reacting without really thinking things out. All right? And this is what happened in the 60s. Wherever you stood on the 60s, the people, we wanted change. We were young. We wanted a better America. We wanted a better reality. We were idealistic. Our motives were good. Our intentions were good. But our life experience was lacking. So we went out there and we made we were smart. And we made all these smart emotional decisions. But here we are, whatever we were up against wanting to change is more dangerous now than it was then. So what's missing? I think it's coherence. I think it's clear, well thought out thinking. To use that creative intelligence to create a solution, to create a way through it. You know, and I think it's a decision we make. You know, whoever we are in this room, whatever we do to make a living or we do for enjoyment, we made a decision. It's like, made a decision for your career, profession. Say, well, this is the way I'm going to go to make a living. So you made a decision. And then once you made the decision to do that, you did what was necessary to learn what was necessary in order to do that, to make that living. Or if it's a sport or a hobby or something you enjoy. You made the decision, you're going to learn that, and then you made the decision. Then you applied and focused your intelligence to fulfilling that decision. Well, I'm saying it's time to make a decision to respect our intelligence and use our creative intelligence clearly and coherently to help create a way through all of this. It's time to make a decision. It's time to make a decision. And whatever you think about the politics, see, I mean, I'm a non-voter, and I don't like it when voters blame me for the problem. I'll tell you that straight up right now, so we don't have any misunderstanding. You played with them, you justified them, you know, and I'm a member of the largest political party in America, the non-voters. Now, I think it's time that the voters listen to the non-voters and figure out why we aren't doing it. I'm serious. And here's about voters, because the elections are coming up. I'm going to say this about voters. See, the voters get on my case because I don't vote, and they try to put the blame on me, and I don't think I'm going to wear that jacket ever. I'm not going to let them put it on me. But let's look at voters now. And no offense to anyone, right? But look at voters. I think the voters in this country are irresponsible because they settle for promises. They settle for what they want to hear. They have no expectation. They don't say to the candidates, we want to see the plan. We want to know how you're going to make it better. We want you to tell us and explain to us. No, they go and tell us what we want to hear. Well, I'm going to vote for the lesser of two evils. Well, why vote for evil at all? We're talking about responsibility. We need to take responsibility for our participation. You know, democracy, I have my... As a Native person, after being exterminated by democracy, I have issues with democracy. I don't really trust it. Okay. See, majority rule. I was the majority. You call me the enemy, killed me till I'm the smallest numerical minority, and now tell me to join majority rule. I don't think so. All right? And let's face a reality about this. A reality about this. You want to hear about majority rule? See, I figure when you plant the crop, then what's going to grow out of it is going to grow from the seed you planted. That's what you're going to grow, right? I mean, to me. Not that I plant crops. well, you know how it is. But anyway, back to this democracy. So when and actually, democracy really is about the right of the entitled. It really is. That's when you get right down to what it's all about. It's the right of the entitled. All right? But original meanings and stuff. But let's look at democracy here. So when they created the democracy of majority rule, if you were a white male and didn't own property, you had no taxable value, so you couldn't vote. If you were a woman, you were mentally incompetent, so you couldn't vote. And if you were black, you were property, so you couldn't vote. And if you were an Indian, you were the enemy, so you couldn't vote. So democracy, all right, is really the reality of democracy on this hemisphere is it's the rule of the smallest numerical minority because it was the land-owning white male that decided. This is reality. See, so I mean, and they've thrown out a lot of illusions. See, they needed the white people to tame the West, to own the blacks and tame the West. So they let them, you know, so they started easing it up and letting the men vote. And then after 100 or a zillion years, the women got to vote, right? And after another X amount of years, the blacks got to vote. And after another X amount of years, they made Indian citizens so we could vote, you know. But it was always built around a numerical minority. It was the land-owning class. All right? And I think that people need to at least consider the reality that maybe that never, ever changed. All right? Maybe it never, ever changed. And everybody, and see, now they don't need the white people the same way. The white people, they got too expensive. Where's that word again? No, they don't want health benefits and they want retirement. Fuck, they want a decent wage. Hey, over here in China, they'll work for a year for $1.50. Just dismantle the Eastern Bloc of communism, they'll work for $2 a day. And the Americans, they want this? I don't think so. It's reality. They don't need, all right, the American citizens the way that they needed them before because they got whole new markets. Right? They got a new labor force, workforce. They need just percentage-wise, they need enough Americans to be able to enjoy some of the economic benefits. They need enough of them. All right? But they don't, but America, it's just too expensive. Just too expensive for them. All right? And I mean about thinking about alternative ways because see, to me, I think we need to align ourselves with the earth and do what's best for the planet. See, and then I think all the rest of this stuff starts to fall into place. If we will do what's best for the planet, if we will do what's best for the planet, then I think all the rest of this stuff starts to fall into place. You know, and I'm saying, so about the democracy thing, I'm just putting this out there. You know, please, Homeland Security, you guys are all wrong. Communist, capitalist, me, you're all wrong. So I'm not picking on anybody. All right? But I have to make that announcement because for whatever good it'll do. But it's our responsibility to think. See, because we got trapped into thinking only what's permissible. See, so in the 60s where we went out, see, we didn't question democracy. All right? We didn't question it. See, there's certain things that we were told, these are the rules you got to operate by, all right? And we didn't question them. Not really. We may have challenged, but we didn't really question them. And I think there comes a time, do we protect this planet? Do we protect the lives of human beings? Do we take care and have a responsibility to life? Or do we place the democracy that in reality is a minority industrial ruling class corral? Thought needs to be put into this. You know, we're in a veterans hall. I'm a veteran, seeing a lot of, and I know there are veterans. But anyway, I'm a veteran. I got the right to say this. All right, just plain and simply put. It doesn't make me a bad guy. Other things do, but that doesn't. But anyway, we really need to think about things that we've been imprinted to be afraid to think of. It's that simple. It's no matter, because that's a responsibility of a human being. Our Creator gave us creative intelligence to maintain a balance. To maintain a balance in life. We're borrowing today from yesterday and tomorrow. We're just borrowing. You know, and we need to think in terms. See, and to me, is if we make the decision to just think, respect our intelligence enough to think more clearly and coherently. Do the best that we can with the best that we have as often as we can. We're not looking for perfection. You know, we've all been affected by this. You know? Do the best that we can with the best that we have as often as we can. Don't judge ourselves. Learn from our mistakes. Don't judge. We don't have the right to judge. And if we're going to judge, we'll always judge ourselves the harshest. And you can't, and it's like thinking and believing. You can't judge and recognize. It's one or the other. And it's time for us to start recognizing the reality of the situation, to recognize reality, whether it's about our own behavior patterns or what's happened to us, but to recognize reality without judging it. Because we can either recognize or judge, because when we recognize, we look to see, we can truly learn. But if we judge it, then the ability to recognize is limited by the biases and the judgment itself, the prejudices of the judgment. So it's about recognizing and not judging. Learn from the life. That's why we're here. That's why we took this ride. That's why everybody, this is our ride. See, we came here to learn something. Hey! Right? And don't let this industrial ruling class prevent us from learning it. All right. Yeah, I'm going to close with a poem if I can find it. Well, maybe two poems. Oh, yeah, two. But anyway, I thank you for sitting through all this. And you know, if anything I said made sense to you, I appreciate it. And if anything I said didn't make sense to you, I don't want to hear it. I mean, I respect it. I don't want to hear it because.
Are you ready for the football?
Football. Oh yeah, Hank Williams Jr. Well, yeah, he did, you know, and it doesn't affect my reality at all. He compared Obama to Hitler. Well, I mean, I think Obama's a Manchurian. All right? They're not, you know what I mean? I think he's a Manchurian. And a Manchurian, see, because a Manchurian, he just sent out their program to do something. And I don't think he even knows how he's been programmed. He just out there doing that, right? And Obama's, this is what I mean about be careful about elections and understand who you're voting for. They knew they were going to catch crack from George Bush. They knew after the plundering by the Republicans, they needed to create the illusion of change. So what better illusion of change than to put a black-looking man in the White House? That'll get them. They'll go for that. Right? Throw out that magic hope and believe stuff and put this black guy in there. All right, and then let him take the crap, all right? And then he went right along with him. He did everything that Bush did. All right? And, right, and more. See, so this is what I'm saying. It's the illusion. See, it's like, well, anyway, so, see, I knew it was fake because Obama's not really a black man. I mean, nothing racial. Well, maybe racial, but not racist about it. But I've seen black men. He ain't. Gotta have a little white blood in there if you're going to get in the White House. Anyway, okay, now, don't distract me because I'm going to shut this down. All right, so this is called For a Day. He promised to do much better. He did it every day for a day until he saw just how much do much better is going to take. As it comes to whatever it takes, he already hasn't got enough. He ran out of credit on his way, looking for the get enough store. A facing of longer time solutions with a short attention span, or misfirings of other short circuits, unchanging in the unchanging. Resorting to moving things around, just going through the motions, is more of like another denial that he keeps right on denying. He can run real fast, even faster. The way the past closes in, regrets breathing down his neck in too close for comforts. Days drift away like leaves falling, with no idea of where or when or how they'll land, when it's up to the wind and how the wind feels at the time. And this is, anyway, I thank you for, and I think there's going to be something, and I'm going to do a Q&A, right? Okay. This is called Been Given. Been Given. Enjoy your day. Create a way. Sunshine and rain go together, while come and gone play tag with yesterday and tomorrow. In and only forever lasts forever. Forever is here in this moment. What we do with it is up to us, in what we think of ourselves. We can carry our light lighter, or we can carry our light heavier. We can smile and or we can cry. We decide which feelings to use. We are how feeling better feels, or what feeling worse can feel. How low down can get, needs our cooperation to play. While our birthright of resilience gives us the creativity we need to create positives to stay even with negatives that keep adding. Fuel to the fire, energies to burn, can be used to lighten the darker. See clear, we are our own torches. Everything that's good is still good, and we've been given the gift of life. Thank you.
Big ears. My brother Don. Anyway, we want to, it's made by your people, and it's really old. It's from the early 1900s. And it's, you have to take it out there to look at it. I kind of threw this together. You can see I'm not a leather man. I just peeled this top part off. Whoever did it was an expert. Anyway, that's what we're trying to do. And we want to thank you for coming here. And I want to thank you for what you did for all the Indigenous people all over the world. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to Joan too. I've heard a lot about you over the years, but finally I get to meet you. And I'd really like maybe to get some kind of a commitment out of you so you'll come back. I want to say